Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Legal Tuesdays, where I answer your questions about separation of church and state that you've asked for us on our social media platforms or through our website or some other format. Sometimes you folks creep into my social media page or go through other departments. I think the other week we had a person go to our education department. So the question today came from our online complaint form. And the question is, how many cases across the United States is the AHA's legal team involved in? And this is a great question because I've worked at the American Humanist Association's Legal Center from its fledglings till now. About 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, the AHA's Legal Center really was just mostly supporting other groups' cases through amicus briefs, sometimes writing letters. I interned back when I was in law school with Bob Ritter, who was the legal director at the time, and we did 2 amicus briefs that summer, and then I came back to another internship, and now I am your legal director. But what I was going to say is that we started with really no cases, and then about 3 or 4 years after I graduated and was a lawyer, we brought a series, mostly with David Neosi and I, about 10 cases we were balancing. And those cases were all over the country. So at this point in my career now, I've done about 30 federal Establishment Clause cases in, all the way from California out to Maryland and Virginia and the South. I've had several cases in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, 2 in the 11th, 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 9th. We've done amicus briefs. I argued in the U.S. Supreme Court in 2019. And our cases range from, legislative prayer to school prayer and monuments, government monuments that are religious. There are issues of school funding, taking students to field trips that are religious, using religious texts. We've had a ton of cases, and that litigation is quite high in number for a small operation like the Legal Center. We really just have been operating with usually one, myself or 2 attorneys at any given time, and we had a paralegal for a few years, but that's it. And now and then we do get interns and volunteers. But yeah, so your donations really go a long way. I think this question and answer really sort of underscores that just by the sheer quantity. When I tell people that I'm sometimes balancing a caseload of 7 to 10 cases, federal Establishment Clause cases. Now this was a little while ago, a few years ago, back when we had a more ambitious docket. But people were like, you're crazy for that number. But ambition is quite the drive, and desire to keep church and state separate. So yeah, it's a little trickier now because we have a different sort of court system than when I started my career under Obama. But we are strategizing and coming up with creative ways to get around this judiciary that is stacked so heavily against us. That was a great question, and I look forward to talking to you on the next segment of Legal Tuesdays.